Welcome to another edition of How to Fix It Yourself with Dave and Dave. On this episode, we're working on a Nissan Rogue model or year 2016, and the fan motor is starting to grumble and growl. It still blows pretty well, but once it starts grumbling and growling, you know that it's on its way out. So we're going to go ahead and replace it. We've got some long distance travel we're going to be doing in this car here in a few weeks, and we certainly don't want the fan to go out in the middle of our trip. So here we go. Here's how we're going to get at the fan. I guess before we start, the fan sits up under here. So we've got to remove a lot of this part to get at it. There's some discussion as to how much you need to remove, and we'll kind of go through that as we go through this video. If you do it according to the Nissan factory service manual, not only do you have to remove all of this stuff, but you have to remove the radio console and the upper part of the shifter cover here. And I don't think we need to go that far, but we'll see as we get into it. So the first thing we need to do is take this side panel off. And there's a little indent right here giving you an idea of where to pry first. So you can kind of get under there and just start working your way around to loosen all the clips that are there. So you just kind of work your way around and it'll come right off. Again, be gentle. You don't want to break any of these, so just kind of work your way around nice and easy. So the next thing we want to do is remove the glove box itself. And so there's a couple of little holders that are down here at the bottom. All right, so the first thing you need to do is get this retainer clip off of there. It just pops off like that, and that'll take care of that. Then up here on the top, there's a couple of little latches, and you need to take them off of both sides. You can see you can just bend it in and it pops out. So I've got this side out, I'll do the other side, and then we'll take the box out. After you get those done, then you want to start just pulling down on the glove box face, and it'll pop loose from these two guys there, and you can see where these are on that part there. So you'll need to know that when you put it back in. You'll have to kind of pop it a little hard to get it back on, but that takes the glove box completely out. The next thing we need to do is take this upper panel area off right here. So there's 5 screws, 3 across the front and 2 in the back. So we'll go ahead and get those. So we popped the side panel off. We've taken the 5 screws off of this. We've removed the controls for the heater and air conditioner down here. You should be able to see that on the close-up. And they're just popped in there so that you get a nice body tool like this to use to kind of pop it loose. And we've kind of popped this loose from the prowls or the clips down here and over on this side. So the next thing we need to do is we've got to get this air conditioning vent or heater vent out of the way. So we've taken the screw off of the outside here. So now we're just going to start working our way around to get this loosened up and get this out of here. It pops loose, you can just kind of work it out of there, and you can see how it's these clips here that are holding it in place with these clips on the bottom. So you want to just pull it straight out, and that allows you to get at this piece here and start working it out. So the one thing we need to think about here is if we have any clips underneath the radio here that we need to get loose. And I think we probably do. And then we can probably take this trim piece out and get at the rest of this top piece so as we can pop the whole thing out here. We might not actually have to take this out, but I think it's going to be a safer bet because it just pops loose. You can see how it's just kind of coming loose. So actually, now that I said that, let's just go ahead and get it loose. So that takes it out of there. It's just clipped on there. And so that should allow us now to be able to see, yeah, we've got to loosen up the radio here in order to get the clips under here. So to take out the radio, we need to, or at least loosen up the radio, we need to get a screw out here and these 2 screws down here. And so we'll go ahead and take care of that. this point, we should be able to loosen up the radio. There we go. So we can loosen up the radio, and yeah, that's, and don't want to take this part off over here if we don't have to be able to get this out of here. But I think at this point we can probably go ahead and finish getting this out of here. And just wiggle that on out. And we've got a light cable back here. Get that down a little bit so that we can see that. So you got a light cable down here. You can either pop the whole thing off or you can disconnect it. I just went ahead and popped it off of there. And that gets that out of the way. So at this point, we should have access to the blower motor right up in here. All right, so once you wiggle it around and kind of work with it a little bit to get it out, you'll notice that while it was in there like this, that the clip is on the top and the screw to hold it in place is there on the side. And when you take it out, you have to kind of get your fingers in here on these ribs and twist it clockwise to get it to disengage. So when you put the new one in, you're going to have to wiggle it in place. Make sure you've got it so that when you turn it to latch it into place, that it's going to latch with the electrical clip on top and the screw hole lined up so you can put the screw back in. So you want to be sure that you get the cable up out of the way so as that you can slide the motor in. You certainly don't want to be fighting that cable as you're trying to insert the motor into the housing there. Put this motor back in, we've got to get way up here and just kind of work it in. Make sure that you have the screw and the clips aligned properly. All right, now that we've got it in place, now remember that when you took it out, you twisted it clockwise. When you put it in, you got to twist it counterclockwise. And there can be a bit of a struggle to get it in there, so you'll have to kind of work at it. So at this point then, you can go ahead and get the screw started. Oh, come on, get in there, you sucker. There it goes. All right, so we'll get the Phillips on there and get that tightened up. And then we'll put the clip back in place, which is up here. We pull it up out of the way, and we'll be good to go. All right. Cool. So now that we have the motor installed, we've tested it, and it works just fine. It's time to put things back together again. So this is the part that goes on next. When you put it in place, you need to make sure that you get it up under into the right location, and of course you got to wiggle it around a little bit to make sure it slides into the right spots. Let's move that a little more out of the way. Come on. There we go. All right. So you can start lining up where the clips all go. So you've got clips on this side over here and over here. The first ones you want to work on are the ones that deal with the radio. So you want to get those in first. And what's keeping us from... Well, it looks like everything's lined up. There it goes. All right, so now you want to line the radio clips into their sockets. Clip that in place. Then you'll put in the 3 screws that we took out. So one screw goes right here. Oh, come on, tighten up. There it is. Okay, so one screw goes right there. Then we've got one screw goes right here. All right, and then we've got this last screw that goes in right here. So those are all in nice. All right, so from there it's time to put in the radio control. So you want to be sure to put in the lower one first. Get the clips all lined up and make sure they all pop into place. And we can go ahead and put the air conditioning controls in. Pop that into place. And then we'll put in the trim piece that goes up here. It has a slot here that goes in next to the radio, so you want to be sure to get that lined up first. And then you can just kind of start going down and popping that all in place. All right, we're getting close. We've got the vent control here in the glove box to put in with the screws on the glove box. So we're going to go ahead and put this piece in first, and we'll put the screws in, and then we've got the side panel, and we'll be done. So now we're going to put in the vent director. It has a foam seal here that goes into this. Try and go in as straight as you possibly can so as you don't muck up the foam seal. The other thing to be aware of course, is these are the clips that's got a clip in to hold it in place. And you'll also notice that you've got some guides here that you need to be sure and hit on the edges as you put that in. And then of course there's the screw hole that you got to be sure line up here to put that screw in. So just go ahead and start working it in and just try and guide it carefully. I know it gets to be a little hard to see what's going on, but you know, when you hit it, you'll see it just falls right in place. Now we're going to get that side screw in. When we started, we took out this screw and this screw, and as you noticed in the video, it turned out we didn't need to take those out. So it's only these upper 5 that we really needed to take out. But that's what we're going to do next, is go ahead and put the screws back in. Okay, and then you've got your side piece to put back in. Align the tabs into the holes. And there we go. And that'll pop right in. So when you put the glove box back in, you've got to be sure that these pop onto these clips here. And notice they have a channel on them, and that's to keep it aligned because there's a raised part on the bar there. There we go. Hope you heard that. That's how hard you have to be. Then you want to squeeze the edges in, and so that those can go into their little slots. Come on. Why is that being difficult? There we go. All right, and then don't forget to remember to hook up your limiter over on this side over here. Some of these things are hard to do without. There we go. Okay, and we've got it done. So hopefully that's been a helpful video if you need to replace your fan motor. You can see it's a little bit of work, but it's not that bad. So what you need to do, and what makes it hard, is knowing where the clips are that you need to be able to remove and in what order you need to remove them in so as you don't break anything. And that can take a little while on your first shot. At this point, if we had to replace the motor again, it would go much faster, and hopefully this video will help you do it much faster. We hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been educational. Please click the like button and the subscribe button